out here today to support the Jewish community. We're Christians and we stand by our Jewish brothers and sisters.
How has it felt for you as a Jew in the past 6 or 7 weeks in Britain?
Well, I think it's been bubbling for years, but obviously it's come to the surface the last few years. And I think what's come out of it has been this fantastic unity. I think what you guys have done, you've brought us all out here, your publicity has been amazing, and the unity amongst the Jewish people is very, very, very special. And to be here today is just fantastic, I think, for all our morale.
What has your reaction been to the horrific rise in anti-Semitism in this country over the past few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's really poisoned the well, to be honest, and we really all need to stand together as a United Kingdom community to say this is not the way this country should operate, and that no community should feel victimised, marginalised or unsafe on the streets. So absolutely. I'm very keen to be here to say that mustn't be the case.
So I live in Brighton, and we've had a fair amount of that on display as well down there, and it makes us all uncomfortable. And I was I noticed a young lady marching with a banner today saying that she didn't want to hide her Jewishness at school, for example. And that's the sort of situation we've got facing ourselves at the moment. And it's a terrible thing that our children have to be concerned about showing their Jewishness at school. And that is something that deeply concerns us all and makes any Jew very uncomfortable.
I'm here to support friends of mine. I grew up 1971 onwards, and I've been living in an area with a lot of Jewish people. They've always been friends of mine, always been supportive, and I've known them since I was about 5-year-old. And so I've seen what's happened, what Hamas has done, and I think that's completely evil. And the other thing is, during the 1930s, when this kind of stuff happened, people didn't do anything, and only did something later on when they thought, right, they were going to come over. So I said, no, not again. It's not going to happen. So we've got to stand up and make it plain and simple, heard that this is not acceptable.
I think as a Jew and an Israeli, this is really the most important thing that myself and definitely my children and grandchildren have done, to stand up and be counted for, to make sure that this doesn't continue and that they have a future. That it's their future. This is what we're fighting for. We're not fighting, this is what it's all about. You have to be counted.
So we have Jews and non-Jews alike, shoulder to shoulder. How does that feel?
It feels good. It feels comforting to know we have so many allies, more allies than we imagine. We have more enemies than we imagine, but we also have more allies. And I think we all often certainly in this era, tend to live our lives through social media, so we kind of see the worst of what's out there. And I think this kind of reinforcing to me that there are good people that are allies to us.
But it's when the cries for peace turn into cries for the annihilation of the state of Israel, for Jews, for a jihad, and it makes us intimidated to the point of being phenomenally scared.
The rise in anti-Semitism, people claim that that anti-Semitism has nothing to do with anti-Zionism, but that's clearly not the case.
What brings you out here today?
The fight against anti-Semitism, and we care very much so.
We're out here today to support the Jewish community. We're Christians and we stand by our Jewish brothers and sisters. And hence got my Star of David here with the cross on. We abhor any sort of anti-Semitism, racism, and we're praying for you guys because that's what we're taught to do in the Bible, is to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
We are seeing a lot of anti-Semitism. What's your reaction to this, and do you think it's being taken care of properly?
No, I don't think it's being taken care of properly. I feel very, very uncomfortable, actually. I'm even nervous to post anything on social media. Anything to do with it, because I have a wide group of friends, Jewish and non-Jewish, and you never know how people are going to react. And some of the conversations with people who I thought were my friends who are not Jewish have changed. There's definitely been a shift.
My name's Edward, I'm President of Union of Jewish Students, and I'm here standing in solidarity with everybody facing the unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism right now across the UK and Ireland.
And have you seen a rise of anti-Semitism in the student community since the 7th of October?
It's been unprecedented. We've never done anything like it. We've seen Jewish students who lost family members, and there's always seen Jewish students who have been physically assaulted and received death threats on campus. And we will be here to lead, defend and enrich Jewish life on campus now and forevermore.
We've come because we knew that the Jewish people, that especially in London, I felt very alone. They've told us that, and very frightened. And we wanted them to know that they're not alone, and that we're standing with them. We're with you together.
Nobody, whether it's religion, race, colour, creed, whatever you believe in, no one should be suffering from discrimination.
How do you feel about the rise of anti-Semitism recently, since the 7th of October?
I think it's disgusting. It's become normalised. It's become part of our everyday life, and it's not okay. And we need to tell people that it's not okay because it's just being brushed under the carpet.
I want to stand against anti-Semitism, show solidarity with British Jews in particular, after everything that's going on in Israel at the moment. Matters personally to me, and I think should matter to everyone as well.
As a Jewish person, how have you felt walking through London these past 6-7 weeks?
I have tried my best to remain proud, to not be scared, and to carry on doing all the things I would do, wearing my necklace the way I would. My sister's tried her best to also do the same, and on campus at university where she is. It has, however, a number of times crossed my mind, maybe I should tuck in something, maybe I should not wear something too obvious, a jumper that's too obvious when I walk down the road, or a coat, and it has crossed my mind, but I am doing my best to stay proud and not afraid, because I think that's really important, and I think that's the way that we're going to win.
I'm definitely more wary of going out and about in my own home. Yeah. And I'm definitely scared to wear a kippah at the moment.
What brings you out here today?
For me, it's a spiritual thing. That it says in the Psalms that it's a beautiful thing when Jewish people are together. It's a spiritual reality that when we do stand together, that creates a holiness in this world, and we absolutely need to tip the scales in the favour of goodness at the moment. So that's why I'm here.
I'm here because I think it's important to come out in a show of force against anti-Semitism.
What's that like to stand shoulder to shoulder with people who aren't Jewish but are also saying no to anti-Semitism?
It's very warming, and it's good to know that something has triggered them to look out for our whole society here.
We're in a very large crowd with Jews and non-Jews standing shoulder to shoulder against anti-Semitism. What is that like for you?
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been breeding anti-Semitism, so it's important for the Jewish community and the non-Jewish community to come together and really fight against it. It's very powerful to be amongst so many people really all fighting for the same thing, which shouldn't take place in our society.
I know people up and down the country are, very supportive of this. I'm representing people that can't be here, also from Scotland, so very proud Scottish, British and Jewish.
I think, as we've seen with all sorts of racism across the globe, it's really important that we speak out about these things, because the only way to really fight any sort of prejudice and racism is education, and also by having your voice heard. And this is a perfect opportunity to get people talking, get people hearing about it, and starting to educate more and more.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be one rule for sort of one ethnic minority and one for another. I think we should all stand together and end racism towards anyone.
How do you feel the police have been managing anti-Semitism recently?
I think they've been disgraceful. I think they've ignored all the anti-Semitism. They've pretended they can't arrest people when they actually could. This has not been the home that I'm used to.
I am saddened because I see it as a failure of allyship, that we don't have, that it's not easy to come out against anti-Semitism without it being pulled into the polemics of the war. I think that we're fighting with a hand tied behind our back when it comes to combating anti-Semitism, because we immediately get pulled into a kind of oppression Olympics of, you can't come out against anti-Semitism because we're somehow silencing somebody else. And I think while that's still an argument and a polemic in public life, it makes it very difficult for us to combat it, and that saddens me very much.
According to recent Met figures, anti-Semitism has risen 1,350%, which is very, very high.
Very
What
high.
is your reaction to that figure?
I think that's actually quite disgusting, but the truth is I think there's a lot of media that's been helping this happen, and quite honestly they need to be dealt with, the media. They need to be stopped. They know what's wrong and what's right, and they're helping this happen. So no, I don't support the BBC. I think they've been quite biased in their reporting, and quite honestly I'm quite disgusted. I mean, I've grown up in a country where I've had Jewish, Chinese, Indian, everybody's been friends. And then what I've witnessed in the last few years has been this total anti-Semitism and actual bullying with the mob. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen, not on this watch. It's got to stop.
At the end of the day, this is a battle about our values, and not just Jewish values, but Western values that we all hold dear, and it's great to show everybody how much we've got in common.
I'm Jewish, I'm proud, I'm British, and I feel it's important we stand together today against any anti-Semitism, any racism of any form, and I'm proud to be here alongside all of my Jewish, non-Jewish, whoever you are, whatever faith, just to fight a good fight against hatred of any kind.
What is it like marching down central London with Jewish people and non-Jewish people alike against anti-Semitism?
It's actually amazing because we fight towards a common goal, and that is absolutely brilliant in London.
I think it's phenomenal that we are here as a community standing in solidarity with all of those amongst our community who are facing anti-Semitism right now, and this is a sign to show that anti-Semitism has no place in our society.
We're walking in a very large crowd right now of Jews and non-Jews alike. Everyone is here for the sole purpose of standing against anti-Semitism. What is that like for you right now?
It's amazing. It's really, really amazing to see, and to all of the Jews that have come out today to stand together, I mean, kol hakavod to everyone. It's amazing that we are showing that we're not afraid and that we're going to stand together. To all of the non-Jews that have come to support us, from the bottom of my heart, from all of us, thank you so, so much. You have no idea what it means to know that people in this country stand behind us and stand behind Jews. And to the police, I mean, thank you so much for being here, honestly, for protecting us. We are so, so grateful. We know it's not always safe for us, so thank you so much.
How do you think non-Jews can help in the fight against anti-Semitism?
They can hear our narrative, they can hear our point of view, they can talk to us, they can stand with us, they can lend their voices in our support.
No, I'm not about to stand there and let my friends get mobbed and anti-Semitism spread all over the place. That's just ridiculous. That's got to stop. And, you know, the government's going to have to do something about it and sort it out. If they don't, then there's going to be more, right? That's the way it is.
What I'm encouraged by are the non-Jews who are on this march as well. It's not just Jews that are worried about anti-Semitism, it's good people, good British people who are worried about it. And lots of good comments from people who are not Jewish, who are appalled by the rise of anti-Semitism. And it's a good opportunity for non-Jews to stand up and be counted as well in making the point that anti-Semitism simply won't be tolerated in this country. It's good to see. It's lovely to know we have friends.
What can non-Jews do in the fight against anti-Semitism?
I think spreading awareness that it shouldn't take place in our society is one thing. I think another thing would be to really understand the intrinsic connection to Israel of the Jewish people, and actually understand that we have the right to self-determination in the land of Israel too.
We have seen examples of anti-Semitism, calls for an intifada, support for Hamas, comparisons between Israel and the Nazis. When you're seeing this kind of stuff as a Jewish person, how does that feel?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, I haven't ventured into London for the last 7 weeks. I haven't felt welcome. This is the first time I've been in London because of that exact reason. It's disgusting. It is not what we stand for as Jews, as Brits. It's not what we're about. So, yeah, absolutely. Here in solidarity with the Jewish people, with the British people.
I think it's doing something I feel is the right thing to do. It doesn't matter where we come from, what our background is. Just fight for what we believe is the right thing to do.
Over the past 6 to 7 weeks, we've seen an enormous increase in anti-Semitism. As a Jewish person, how do you feel walking around in London?
Uncomfortable, I think. And the city I was born in, my family came to this city in the 1870s. So as a Jew, we've been here for hundreds of years. So for the first time I felt a little bit of a stranger in my own city, and I found that very uncomfortable.
Whether you are Jewish or not Jewish, when a group is being targeted purely because of their
that identity, being Jewish, whoever you are in the world, stand on the side of good, stand with us.
It makes me feel very proud to be Jewish and makes me feel that we're not alone in these horrible and dark times, and it's lovely that so many people are here to support our community.
I heard from David Baddiel on the radio, and he was talking about saying about allies within the non-Jewish community and wanted to come out to sort of register my support. And really to say I think anti-Semitism has really got to such a new low at the moment that we all need to stand together to say an end to it.
Very important to show solidarity with the Jewish community. We've seen in the last 6 weeks a 1,350% increase in anti-Semitism. So it's very important to show huge numbers, and we can already see there's thousands of people here today making, a solidarity march, and it's a very peaceful march.
What would be your message to people wanting to join in the fight against anti-Semitism?
Just do it. Just take a stand. I know it feels like a lot of my friends would. It's not something that a lot of my friends would do. But I think you just need to do it. It's time to stand up and say this is not acceptable.
What brings you out here today?
I'm here to I'm Jewish. I'm British. I've experienced a lot of anti-Semitism throughout my life. I came here with the intention of being around other Jewish people, united against anti-Semitism within this country.
I'm more afraid of the silent majority, that it takes too long for them to respond to extremism, and that we are a very cautious society and very tolerant, and sometimes maybe too tolerant. And that's what I'm mostly afraid of. But I have no doubt that the majority of this country are decent people.
Have you noticed a sharp rise of anti-Semitism since the 7th of October?
I certainly have. Where we live, around the corner, we had all the posters of kidnapped hostages ripped down several times. That's pretty scary, that to think around the corner from where I live that there are people that hate us so much and can't bear the thought of us highlighting the plight of innocent civilians who are little kids, grandmothers, kids on their own with no mothers. It's scary, and people who can't face that and have some compassion and humanity for that and hate us for it, well, I'm not comfortable with that.
How do you feel about being here today?
I feel much more empowered, and to see the support here is wonderful. We've come from the north of England on a coach, and it's just unity.
I think we have seen in the past few weeks a terrible rise in anti-Semitism across the world, and I think it's crucial that at moments like this we all come together and march for the Jews both here and around the world. Incredibly important.
We're here to say to the Jewish people, not only are you not alone, but we feel your pain and we understand what you're going through, in as much as we look on this and we're disgusted at the reporting because it is so biased and so one-sided. It's about time that we heard the other side of it, what the Jewish people have had to go through.
I'm supporting my friends. I'm against any kind of racism. I think this is a particularly important time to support the Jewish community, and that's why I'm here.
Anti-Semitism, sadly, is a virus that remains beneath the floorboards, always waiting to come out, to be potentiated, to come to life again. And since October the 7th, sadly, tragically, it has come to life, and we've seen it on our streets. And so I think people should come out and show their solidarity with Jewish people everywhere and their utter condemnation of anti-Semitism.
Like many Jews, we're pretty appalled by the huge uptick in anti-Semitism. I think it's easily denied because it's sort of under wraps behind lots of other language. So, for instance, ripping down a poster of a kidnapped Israeli civilian in the guise of it being propaganda or Zionist kind of agitation.
What do you feel being here right now?
I mean, it's extraordinary that the Jewish community is so united today, and that is a sadness in itself, because that means that people are feeling unsafe, and that's unacceptable in this day and age. And actually, I think it's incumbent upon those of us who are not Jewish to stand up and say this is not the way we want our country to be.
I think it's important that not just Jewish people stand with us, that non-Jewish people across the country come and show their support, because it's something that really means a lot to us. And we're a small nation, but showing the love and support is really what matters at this time.
I love living in this country. I mean, I'm British, I'm proud, I've been born here, my parents were born here. I want to feel integrated in society like everyone else, and I just don't want to feel different because of my religion. I'm British, I'm Jewish, what difference does that make? So that's why I'm here. Just treat us like everyone, just be humans together.
I went to a march a few weeks ago just to see what the kind of rhetoric was coming out, and I would say about 20% of the signs were not about a ceasefire, were not about wanting peace or wanting Palestinian self-determination or dignity, but rather making comparisons to the Holocaust, saying that Jews were doing exactly what Hitler did, saying that the Zionists control the media and control our government, saying that the Israel lobby is controlling the world and controlling the British parties. And also, they were also saying stuff like resistance is not terrorism, or like Jews, Zionists drink Palestinian blood. And as Jews, we know what that sounds like. We know what they're implying. And we know that just because you support Palestinian right to self-determination, it doesn't mean that you can also weaponize Jewish trauma, weaponize the Holocaust for very cheap political points. And I saw about 20% of signs were making some reference to Auschwitz, some reference to the Holocaust, some reference to the Star of David being like, stop the Holocaust, and the A was the Star of David.
What would be your message to people trying to fight anti-Semitism at the moment?
Stand up, be proud, never ever be scared to show your own religion.
You feel uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable, and we shouldn't have to be.
I think, as we well know, we are a good symptom of what may happen to the rest of society if anti-Semitism is allowed to extend its grip. Then that will soon align itself with other evil forces.
There's something strange in the air, which it feels a lot like old-fashioned anti-Semitism. My parents came from Europe, from Vienna. My dad's from Vienna. He fled in '38 from the Nazis, and it feels like the way he described that time in history.
I think the most important thing is that Jews should be respected as Jews. The world should recognise what we've got to contribute, and it's based on peace and it's not based on hate.
Definitely considering the events last month, I think it's right that everyone comes and tackles anti-Semitism, considering also the marches that are happening on the Saturday.
There are Jews and non-Jews alike marching shoulder to shoulder down Whitehall right now. Yep. How does that feel for you?
Feels comforting, feels like we're all part of one human race, standing for everything that is right and good about humanity. So I'm so pleased to be here. I feel so comforted by this. I'm so glad I could be here today. So.
I lived with anti-Semitism when I was about 4 years old. When I was at school, I was told that I'd give you one reference that I had when I was a kid, 11 years old. I'd passed my 11 plus. I was at a school in Walthamstow. I went for a carpentry lesson. Mr. Nicol was having an argument with a guy on the kind of stage who was obviously Jewish. And when the guy went, he turned to this class of newcomers, 11-year-old kids. All Jews are liars. The next week I wouldn't go to school. My mother went up to school and found out why. And the teacher came and caught me and put me into an alcove and apologised. There you go. So basically I've lived with anti-Semitism and whatever you want to call it for many, many years. And I'm very, very sort of, in a way, surprised at the rise here now.
So right now we have a huge crowd of Jews and non-Jews alike standing shoulder to shoulder against anti-Semitism.
So important.
How does that feel?
It feels great. It feels great that there are people out there who really are with you. You know, and that's how it has to be. It has to be. People have to live together. It's not them or us, it's together.
I'm here to show solidarity with the Jewish community, to stand proud as a Jew amidst the sharp rise in anti-Semitism, and to stand with all my fellow Jewish friends and colleagues and non-Jewish peers as well.
I just think it's really important for all of, I'm Jewish, all of my friends and family in Israel, to be able to show that we're with them, we support them, and to show people in London that might not like Jews that we're with you, we stand strong and we're not afraid and we're never going to be afraid, and there's nothing to do. I'm Yisrael Chai, we're here, we're proud.
Have you yourself noticed a sharp rise of anti-Semitism since the 7th of October?
Definitely. I work off Regent Street, and having seen the signs and the marches on the streets of London has terrified a lot of Jews. So I'm here to show support and just show the love and all the peace that we have in our beautiful Jewish community.
I just think it's important to show your solidarity with your Jewish friends, because we do feel like only Jews support Jews. So hearing from our non-Jewish friends that they are here for us and stand against anti-Semitism would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, just people speaking out, really. It's all we can ask.
That's why we're all here today. We're saying no to racism, no to anti-Semitism. My father was a Holocaust survivor, and he'd be very proud of what's going on today. We are saying no to this. We will fight this.
I just believe that, the Jewish community has the right to live their life safely, and I just think anti-Semitism is terrible, and my family left Europe because of anti-Semitism before the war, and I just, I want people to feel safe. Like my family felt safe here, and I just think it's appalling. I feel very hurt by the increasing level of anti-Semitism that's happened in recent months. So, yeah.
I don't feel safe to come into central London. I'm happy that the Met Police have begun to be taking better action, but I still think that a lot of the rhetoric being used and many of the signs don't make me feel safe to be here.
Are you happy that a march against anti-Semitism has been organised?
It's sad that it's necessary, but it really does show the true spirit amongst the Jewish people, that we only want love and peace. That's the truth.
What's the atmosphere like today here at the march?
Well, it's fabulous to see so many people here in support of anti-Semitism. It's very reassuring to see so many people. I hope people of different faiths and cultures have also come along to support us as well. It feels very friendly, and it all feels very calm. It's great to see such great support from the police and the CST and the people from Campaign Against Antisemitism here all. I hope it'll be a very sort of sombre, peaceful, reflective day for us all.
As a Jew, I felt it's my duty to, as I've always done, to fight against anti-Semitism. And we've seen a big rise in anti-Semitism in the last few years, but the last few weeks, this month, it's become normalised. So I felt that I needed my voice to be here, and that's why I came here.
We need to keep doing things like this.
Be an ally, stand by Jewish students, stand by the Jewish community right now, because we need you now more than ever before to show the rest of the world that anti-Semitism has no place within our society.
Concerned about all the hate that there is in the world at the moment, and here's our opportunity to demonstrate very peacefully and stand up and really point out I guess how we're feeling as a group and a community, and draw on support of the wider British community as well to stand with us in these really difficult and troubling times.
How do you feel about the rise of anti-Semitism since the 7th of October? Have you yourself witnessed anything anti-Semitic?
Just last Shabbat, and indeed I did. I was walking up from shul on the way home from Kiddush, and someone in quite a large car started playing a sort of Palestinian song deliberately to provoke me. Now you can say it's anti-Semitic or not. I think it's pretty obvious what he was trying to do. A few comments here and there, nothing physical, but there's certainly been a rise on the streets, yes.
March against hate, march against anti-Semitism. It's been a breeding ground that we never thought we would see in our lifetime, having been told never again. And it's scary. Schools, universities, around our homes, in our community, something has to stop. And today we're being heard in huge numbers.
Well, it's fantastic to see people coming together. This oneness is the most important thing. And actually that's quite moving and beautiful, even in these tragic times.
I want to be together with all the other members of the Jewish community in fighting anti-Semitism in this country.
Seeing the chants and the things that are said on these marches is very frightening, because it goes beyond any limits of tolerance, and that should be accepted in a democracy and in a country like ours. So I think I would wish that maybe the politicians would be maybe a bit more enforcing the law that is already existing, and drawing the right limits and boundaries to what's going on, because spreading hatred is not going to serve anyone who lives in this country, and we all want to live in peace and harmony together. I mean, most of us, and so we should have clear limits.
How have you felt walking around London these past 6-7 weeks?
Okay, the reality is I've been a lot in Israel in between. I come and go. I haven't felt safe. North London is not safe. You don't feel safe.
There's a very, very large crowd here, Jews and non-Jews alike, marching against anti-Semitism. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot. As I said before starting this, my girlfriend's Jewish, and this has been a tough time for her, and obviously for all Jews around the world. And I think this is just a fantastic show of solidarity to show that anti-Semitism is wrong.
I think the Jewish community feels very hurt, and I think there's been a level of anti-Semitism that's been under the surface for a long time now, and I think this has become an excuse for people to just, to say how they've been really feeling for a long time. And I think we know from history what happens if you don't stand with people and you don't stand with communities. And I think we need to say that this isn't acceptable. This isn't British values.
What do you feel the atmosphere has been like today at the March Against Antisemitism?
This is incredible. I think everyone is really together today. Everyone's very peaceful, which is important. The police are doing a fantastic job. We have to express our gratitude and thanks to the police force for really putting a good shift in today. And I think everyone is here for the correct reasons. We are happy to all be together, but we will understand the reason why we all are here is an incredibly serious one, and that theme is very much felt amongst the thousands of people that are here today.
How does this march make you feel right now?
Proud. Very proud. I think to see the numbers that we have, because we're not used to having numbers like this, it's incredible. And seeing, as I said, Jews and non-Jews here, it means the world to me.
Have either of you been a victim of anti-Semitism?
I'm currently going through some terrible times at work. I work for the NHS, and I'm actually currently, obviously can't speak about it, but have had some terrible things going on with colleagues in the hospital, and I feel very vulnerable at work at the moment. I don't feel like I'm being supported, and the feeling of vulnerability is something I've never felt before.
We are seeing acts of anti-Semitism, terror, support for Hamas. What has that been like for you, and do you think that it's being taken care of properly?
It hasn't been taken care of properly. I think the Metropolitan Police don't really have a handle on the nuances of anti-Semitism, and that's been a real problem. They don't seem to understand what anti-Semitism is and what anti-Semitism is not. So that's been really difficult.
Well, I'm Jewish, and obviously I'm very concerned about the level of anti-Semitism that we've seen in the UK and around the world over the last month in particular. And I think it's very important that we make a point, and that good people who are on this march make the point that we don't want to tolerate anti-Semitism, not anywhere, but particularly here in the United Kingdom, which is, after all, our home.
How have you felt about the rise of anti-Semitism in the recent weeks?
I think it's been disgraceful. I think the police have been inadequate. I think the BBC and Sky have done nothing to help us. I think it's been very unreasonable in the way they've behaved.
So right now we are walking in central London, shoulder to shoulder, with tens of thousands of Jews and non-Jews alike standing against anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
What does that mean to you?
That means that we are doing something. I can go home, I can sleep well at night knowing we did something. Don't want the rubbish about 1930s when nobody did anything. No, it's not about appeasement. It's about they're out of order, it's got to stop. And if it really means that the rest of the world get together and join in and protect the Jewish people, then it'll have to be.
In the atmosphere today, how do you feel being at this march against anti-Semitism?
Well, I think it's a great thing. I think it needs to happen more often. Just the other day I was at university sticking up posters of kidnapped people, and I went back 45 minutes later and they were torn down. And I don't really think it should be considered a controversial thing to want a kidnapped innocent person, to be brought back home. I don't see why people are tearing those down. It's clearly the people who tear them down, which is too common, are pro-Hamas, they're pro-terrorism, and more has to be done about it, quite frankly. This is on my university campus. It's completely unacceptable.
If someone who is not Jewish wants to help in the fight against anti-Semitism, where should they start?
I think they need to start across the garden fence. It's actually the small conversations that people have with neighbours where they need to stand up. It's easier in a crowd, but it's actually in the one-to-one conversations where people need to say this is not acceptable. And to call that stuff even amongst their friends, it can be hard, but it's important.
To non-Jewish allies, what would be your message to them?
Don't stay silent. Words matter. Words matter. As the Chief Rabbi said, words matter.